Sheet Toggler has to be by far my most favorite utility. The keys for this one by default are Control plus Tab. So you can do this with your left hand. I'll just hold down Control and tap Tab as many times as you like to use it. What it does is it toggles back and forth between whatever sheet you're currently selecting and whatever sheet was the last sheet that you were looking at. So to give you an example, right now I have several workbooks open. I have this little title workbook, Sheet Toggler, then I have 3 other workbooks open, each named Workbook 1 through Workbook 3. If I go to each workbook, you'll see that the first workbook just has a few sheets, and the sheets each have a color. There's a blank sheet. This sheet has blue data, this sheet has light blue. If I go to the next workbook, we have green. And if I go to the third workbook, we have purple. So what I've done is I put different colored data on each sheet so that it's very clear when I'm switching between sheets and workbooks. So the way Sheet Toggler works is, let's say right now I'm on workbook 3. Right now I'm on workbook 3, I'm looking at purple data. And let's say I next clicked on workbook 1. So right now it's on workbook 1, sheet B. If I wanted to quickly go back to workbook 3, which was the last book selected, with my left hand right now, I'm going to hit Control, hit Tab, and now I'm back on workbook 3. So if I hit Control Tab again, it's going to take me back to the last workbook, which was workbook 1, sheet B. And I can just keep toggling back and forth. I'm just holding down Control and hitting Tab as much as I want to go back and forth. Now let's say I want to compare workbook 1, sheet B to workbook 1, sheet A. If I was to click on sheet A, now I could hit Control Tab and start toggling back and forth between those 2 worksheets. So this is fantastic. Any time you want to compare 2 worksheets, whether you just compare them visually or start copying data back and forth, you can use this very easy. So if I wanted to copy data from worksheet or from workbook 1, sheet A and workbook 2, sheet A, I could just click that one, go back and click this one, click workbook 2, sheet A, click workbook 1, sheet A. So now they're the current and the last selected, and now I can Control Tab back and forth. So I can quickly, if I wanted to copy all this data, I can quickly take it, copy it, take it back, paste it, so forth. And you can do this as much as you want. Typically you'd have a lot more data on a sheet and you'd be moving around a lot more. Also, something worth noting is whatever cell you happen to have selected is the cell it'll take you back to when you toggle back. So you can see I had F7 selected when I left. As I toggle back, it keeps taking me back to that cell. So it makes it easier to copy things back and forth. Some of you might be familiar with the built-in Alt tab, and you're probably asking yourself, what's the difference? Alt tab does not let you toggle back and forth between the current selected sheet and the last selected sheet. Alt tab actually lets you go through different windows that are open up in Windows. So you can see, if I was to Alt tab, I can actually go between workbooks, but I have to keep hitting tab multiple times to get to each one. And that doesn't let me select a specific sheet in a workbook. For example, in workbook 1, I have 2 worksheets. There's no way for me to cycle back and forth between those 2. Whereas if I use Control Tab, the Nutilities add-in, if I was to select the second sheet, I can now Control Tab back and forth between the 2. Like I said, Alt Tab, which I'm hitting now, lets you just select the different open windows.